Hey guys, Rob from ProWresBlog here, www.prowresblog.blogspot.com. I'm back this time and doing Mid-South Wrestling from December 8th, 1983. This is only like the second TV episode of Mid-South I've ever seen, so just thought I'd throw that one out there. We started out with Bill Watts and his announce partner, who I can't think of at the moment, and they were talking about basically Barry Darsow joining the Russians. He joined up with Nikolai Volkov, and they said mostly it was due to him wanting to get better in powerlifting, and he wanted to be like that. And they showed some clips of Volkov versus Steve Dr. Death match, and the ref went out, and Volkov threw Dr. Death out as well. And then, Barry Darsow, or Crusher Darsow, came out, and he looked like he was going to help Dr. Death, but he ended up just torture racking him, basically. And Nikolai ended up using that to go grab the win with a backbreaker. What they did show was pretty decent, so I like that. And Watts really sold it well. He put over Nikolai strong, and that's kind of different, at least for me, because I know, in all the WWF I watch, that just Nikolai was always kind of treated as a joke and not a big bad deal at all. But here he looked pretty solid. So I like that. That was good. Jim Ross then talked to Barry Darsow, and Darsow said that he's been in secret training with Nikolai Volkov, and that Volkov taught him how to train properly. And he also accused Dr. Death of cheating, and he said that's why he jumped in, because he saw a good chance to get even here. And he said he was sick of not getting any breaks in Mid-South, and he said that Nikolai Volkov was the one who was getting him the breaks. Kind of funny here that Darsow was dressed up in really super short jorts, and he just looked absolutely ridiculous. He was working like some type of mountain man gimmick, but unless you really wanted to see Barry Darsow and Daisy Dukes, it wasn't really for you. Naturally, we then went to a Crusher Darsow versus Mike Jackson match. Darsow had changed his gear. He's now down to red tights and some boots, and he looks kind of just like your average wrestler with a shaven head as well. He gorilla pressed Jackson, and he hit a really sweet backdrop. Probably got like 10 feet in the air on that one. I like that. And there was also a really cool spot. He threw Jackson into the ropes, and he tried to come back and like do like a crossbody on him, and Darsow just caught him and he slammed him down hard. I really like that. And then Darsow ended up winning with the backbreaker, and I like this one. Darsow looked pretty good here, and Jackson sold well also. It was then time for an angle. We had Nikolai Volkov come to the ring with a box, and he said, "This is my good American comrade right here, and I have a present for him right here." And he gave him the Russian flag. Jim Ross and Bill Watts were appalled by this, and Jim Ross said, "It's hard to tell what the world has come to, wrestling fans." And Darsow and Volkov raised the Russian flag. We then went to Hacksaw Butch Reed and Jim Neidhart versus Coco Ware and Randy Barber. Reed and Neidhart are the tag team champions here, and Neidhart had a pretty big gut, and he was rocking a fedora, it looks like, and kind of a neat beard, a little bit different than usual. It was an interesting look. Yeah, this is going to be a squash because we have tag team champions here, and that's pretty much what it was. Coco also tried a crossbody out of the corner thing, and it was an epic fail, and he probably did like a 360 on it. And they just beat the crap out of him real quick, with Reed also getting a really good gorilla press in. And the finish here was Neidhart pinning Barber after a Samoan drop. And I really like this Samoan drop. I'm not usually a fan of that move, but I don't know. Neidhart just made it work. He really jumped back far, and he kind of made it look explosive and like it could actually hurt you. So I'm all for that. I kind of expected to hate the squash going in, but it really wasn't that bad at all. Coco Beware didn't really get anything in there, which kind of sucked. We then went to Mr. Wrestling 2 and Magnum TA. Magnum had hired Mr. Wrestling 2 as his wrestling trainer, and we went to an interview with him. Autocorrect turned Magnum TA into Magnum TV. I like that one. I don't know. My autocorrect also likes to turn Big John Stud into Big John Stuff, and I always am just highly amused by that. And 2 said to Magnum, "You're doing super good in your workouts. I'm very proud of you, but there are still certain things you can't get in your mind." And Wrestling 2 said he was warning them about Lanny Poffo, who kind of just arrived. He said the whole family was rotten, and he was totally against Magnum hanging out with him. And he showed a clip. This is weird. They said they were going to show a clip of Lanny, but it ended up just being the Macho Man saying, freak out, and throwing confetti. And they also showed Macho Man taking a title trophy and throwing it in the river. Yeah, I don't know what the deal was, because there were no clips of Lanny here, so whatever. Magnum tried to defend Lanny Poffo, and Wrestling 2 said even Cain and Abel were from the same family. And then he said, and blood is thicker than water. I'm telling you, the man is rotten, and I want you to stay away from him. That's just an example. I'll get to him. I'll find something on him yet. I really like this one. 2 was really cool as the grumpy dad who just, just trying to prove you that this guy's no good and he doesn't have anything yet, but he knows something's up. And he was just totally annoyed, and I really enjoyed this. This was kind of fun. We then went to Jeff Sword versus Leaping Lanny Poffo. Poffo had like the most awkward ring introduction ever. You just have to see it. It's just odd. There was also a really cool spot where Sword had Lanny in a headlock, and Lanny hooked his leg, and he was kind of hopping around with them until he got out and put him down on the mat. I really like that. We had another really cool reversal there by Lanny as Jeff Sword tried to pull him down by his hair backwards, and Lanny did a kip up right out of it and hooked him by the leg and took him down. That was pretty sweet. We then went to the finish of the squash with Lanny hitting a forward flip and then a backflip for the win. Pretty fun squash here for Lanny. It's really the best I've ever seen him look. I mean, he looked like a technical master, and he was just so fluid and fun. It's so weird because you'd think in his 8 years or whatever in the WWF. We then went to a segment with Mr. Wrestling 2. I guess this was the press conference when he signed on to be Magnum's trainer, and he said, I'm going to pass on the knowledge that I have achieved over the years to a man who I feel will reach the height of professional wrestling. We got like a very brief Magnum TA music video with basically just him hitting the belly-to-belly on people. There was a really cool spot where the missing link was on the top rope, and he belly-to-bellied him right off of it. That was pretty sweet. And then they showed TA and 2 going over some Magnum matches, and basically giving him some constructive criticism. I really like this. You don't see this often, and it wasn't very hard to do. It's just 2 guys like going over wrestling. I think this stuff should really be done all the time because it looks real and it actually makes a lot of sense. Like I said, I don't know why they do it because it's so cheap and you can actually believe it and there's no cheesy crap. And 2 said this. He said, "You got to remember one thing, my boy. You're wrestling the champion. He didn't become champion by being Mr. Nice Guy." We then went to Magnum TA versus Tom Lentz. Magnum looked pretty cool and young here. He was all decked out in this USA jacket that I really liked. And 2 was out there taking notes on the match, which was a pretty good follow-up angle right there. And just kind of your squash here. Magnum won with the belly-to-belly kind of out of nowhere. He leapfrogged Lentz, and then he had the belly-to-belly just waiting for him, and he nailed him. Magnum kept the pace up, and he nailed him pretty good with a forearm shot. And I just really liked the Wrestling 2 part. We then went to an interview with Crusher Dorso and Jim Ross. JR really kind of ran him down and chastised him, and he said, you turned your back on the country, you've embarrassed all your family and friends and all that, and it was, it was kind of the guilt trip there. And then, Dorso tried to explain it by that he had helped the JYD do stuff, and, he'd taken a hit on money for him, and he said that no one has really helped him, and JYD never returned the favor. And this, of course, caused JYD to come out, and JYD said, he kind of ripped him for his choices, and he said he needed to be a man, and he's got to start from the bottom up. And they said, sometimes you need to be waking up. My dad used to wake me up, and then JYD slapped him, and the crowd popped for that, but then Nikolai came in. And we had a little melee there with Nikolai and the Junkyard Dog fighting on the ground and rolling around. And what was really cool here was you'd instantly think that Barry Darso or Crusher Darso would like get in and, do something, but he held back. I really liked that because it told another story. And they tried to push it as like Darso didn't know who he wanted to hit because Volkov would get the advantage and then JYD would too. So he kind of, just waited and hesitated. And, Watts said, Darso's at a real point of indecision. The dog's doing it ghetto style. And eventually Darso ended up nailing the Junkyard Dog, and him and Volkov did kind of a weak double team on the dog as they just punched him and kicked him, but I guess it worked. Watch was pretty infuriated by this, and he said, both of them are putting the boots to the dog. Darso's a red Russian comrade, a lackey bootlicker. I really like that. It just made me laugh. And yeah, they kind of just beat him up with some jobbers trying to make the save, and then they finally left once Duggan and Magnum TA came in. We then had a really other interesting segment. We had Dr. Death Steve Williams going to college at Oklahoma University, which was his college. And we saw him just hanging out and talking with students and lifting weights and stuff. We saw him running steps at the field and beating up a wrestling dummy. Like I said, I like that because it just made him look like a real person. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, he kind of does stuff I do too. So I like that. It was a really good way to get him over, and I think it really pushed the hometown aspect. Again, like, I don't get why companies don't do stuff like this these days, because it's so easy to do and it works, you know. But that's wrestling in 2014. We then went to Iceman King Parsons versus Doug Vines. Iceman came out to We Are Family, and he was kind of shaking it and grooving, so that was kind of cool. And yeah, he had a nice backdrop on Vines, and he was just kind of, he kept escaping him and keeping away so he couldn't nail him. And I thought that was really cool. He just looked so fluid and into it. So very neat. It was kind of like a long dance almost. And King ended up winning with a butt bump, which they call it, I think, the rumper bumper or something like that. And yeah, it wasn't a bad squash. I enjoyed it. We then went to the last match of the show. We only had like a minute or two left. And we had the Midnight Express with Jim Cornette versus George Weingroff and John King. You know, as usual, Cornette got on the mic, and he dared the fans to say that there was a better tag team after seeing the Midnight Express. The Midnights came into their usual music and looked pretty cool out there. And the funny thing was they spelled the Midnight Express wrong. Or, excuse me, they got that part right. They spelled Dennis Condrey wrong. They took out the E. So, yeah, they couldn't spell back then. And Watts said, they just stick together like peaches and cream. I guarantee they've got it down together. And the Midnights ended up winning here in probably less than a minute. I mean, it was super quick. And they ended up beating the one guy, I can't remember now, but they beat him with the Vegematic, and it looked pretty kind of rough. So there you go. Yeah, overall thoughts, I really liked this show. It had a lot of good stuff in it, you know. We got some good angles, we got some decent wrestling, and the video packages were definitely top-notch. So I can definitely recommend this. Like I said, it's so different compared to what we got to now. And I really wish people would try to copy this stuff instead of copying their latest All Japan tape. Alright everyone, that's going to wrap it up for this one. So if you want to see pics and gifs of this review, check it out at www.ProWresBlog.blogspot.com. See you again, guys. Test, 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 cut the stuff off.